Welcome back to Crime Documentary Files. Kim Jo-han was 41 years old at the time, a Korean-American spinal surgeon. As a leading specialist with a top-tier income, he was the epitome of the American elite. In late 2020, with Christmas approaching and his wife away from home, he decided to prepare a special surprise gift for his beloved. But while rummaging through things, he accidentally opened his wife's computer and discovered a series of messages from an unknown man. These weren't ordinary social exchanges. They were intimate, romantic messages with content so explicit there was no other way to interpret them. After reading them, he felt like a bucket of ice water had been dumped over his head. Unable to believe what he'd just seen, he began digging deeper, hoping this was all just some misunderstanding. But the more he searched, the more devastating the truth became. It turned out there wasn't just one man. Multiple men had been involved with his wife. Only then did Dr. Kim realize the painful truth. For years, his wife had been deceiving and betraying him. Jo-han's wife was no ordinary woman. In 2011, she had beaten numerous contestants to win the Miss Connecticut crown and later had the honor of representing her state at the prestigious Miss USA pageant finals. With such a title, she naturally attracted considerable attention. Throughout their 5 years of marriage, she had always presented herself as a gentle, loving wife who doted on her husband. In front of everyone, she was the perfect spouse of a renowned doctor, living in luxury and showered with her husband's love. But behind that perfect facade, she led an entirely different life that her husband knew nothing about. In the shadows, she was a high-end escort serving the upper class, and she had an established list of regular clients. No matter how hard Jo-han thought about it, he couldn't understand why his wife would do such a thing. She had casually betrayed him for 5 straight years, secretly seeing other men behind his back without showing any guilt or fear. It certainly wasn't about money. Everyone knows doctors in America have some of the highest incomes, and Jo-han wasn't just any doctor. He was a leading specialist in spinal surgery. Money was something he had plenty of, and he had never let his wife want for anything. So if it wasn't about money, was it because she didn't love him? Thinking it over, that didn't seem right either. Since getting together, they had frequently posted romantic photos on social media, sharing happy moments that made all their friends envious. Looking at those photos, no one could have imagined this marriage had problems. So what was the real reason? What could have driven a state beauty queen, a seemingly perfect wife, to do such things? After the scandal broke, internet users speculated wildly, each offering different theories. Now, let's trace through every detail to see how this drama-filled marriage and its shocking secrets actually unfolded. In 2011, in the state of Connecticut, a beautiful young woman named Regina was shining brilliantly on the stage of a beauty pageant. She walked with confidence, her radiant smile capturing the attention of both the audience and judges. Regina had a striking height and curves that met every beauty queen standard. She came from an ordinary family with nothing particularly special about it. There wasn't much information or records about her upbringing. People only knew that. From a young age, Regina had been a pretty girl who stood out in any crowd, turning heads wherever she went. As she grew up, her beauty only became more radiant. Encouraged by family and friends, she decided to try her hand at a beauty pageant for the first time in her life. The result was surprising. In her very first competition, she beat all the other contestants to claim the title of Miss Connecticut. This impressive achievement opened doors to an even bigger opportunity, representing her home state at the Miss USA finals. Although she didn't place in the finals, her striking looks and confidence on stage quickly caught the attention of the fashion industry. She signed on as a professional model, represented several prominent lingerie brands, and even graced the covers of fashion magazines. Regina wasn't just beautiful, she was also known for an impressive profile. According to what she shared, she was a junior majoring in chemistry at the University of Connecticut, but had decided to take a break from school to focus on her startup and beauty pageant pursuits. Regina expressed sophisticated views about beauty pageants. To her, competing wasn't simply about wearing glamorous evening gowns. It was an excellent platform for women's comprehensive self-development, from building discipline and maintaining fitness to honing public speaking and communication skills. Beyond that, Regina expressed her belief that beauty pageant activities could help promote community service and charitable causes. As for her future dreams, she shared that she hoped to become a dentist to help those in difficult circumstances. With that noble ideal, Regina had even studied and trained in dentistry at a community college in Farmington. As for the startup she mentioned, it involved developing a mobile app related to fashion, and she claimed to have secured backing from a major investor. If a beautiful woman is enough to make men daydream, then a woman who is not only gorgeous but also smart, educated, and possessing depth and ambition is enough to captivate any man. Johann was no exception. At an exclusive party for the upper class, where he had been invited as a distinguished medical specialist, he spotted Regina. He was immediately drawn to this strikingly beautiful woman standing out among the other elegant ladies. It should be noted that everyone at that party belonged to society's elite class. Johann was born in 1980, a Korean-American born and raised in the United States. Thanks to his multicultural environment and excellent education, he was fluent in 3 languages: English, Korean, and Spanish. His family was well off, so from a young age he had access to the best educational opportunities. However, money alone doesn't guarantee success. Johann himself was extremely hardworking and dedicated. He studied diligently, always setting high goals for himself and determined to achieve them. As a result, his academic and career credentials were nothing short of impressive. He attended and earned his medical degree from the College of Physicians and Surgeons at Columbia University. He then continued his academic journey at Washington University in St. Louis. In 2006, with his medical doctorate in hand, he officially began working at Barnes Jewish Hospital as a spinal surgeon. Beyond his work in the United States, Johann also volunteered as a surgeon in Ghana to help impoverished patients without access to modern health care. Throughout his career, Johann successfully performed hundreds of spinal deformity surgeries. In addition to his daily surgical work, he served as the principal investigator on numerous important medical research projects. His reputation extended well beyond American medical circles to gain global recognition, with prestigious awards acknowledging his contributions to medicine. He was frequently invited to speak at international medical conferences and appeared in media interviews. In the medical world, he was as famous as a Hollywood star. Beyond his respected profession and excellent medical skills, Johann also took great care of his appearance. He was handsome, with a fit, muscular physique from regular exercise. According to the New York Daily News, in 2018 alone, Dr. Kim's income reached $3.2 million. Additionally, he owned multiple properties in the United States, with real estate holdings exceeding $9 million. Although there were no official figures, some estimated Johann's total assets and savings exceeded $40 million. Handsome, wealthy, career successful, and physically fit. All these impressive qualities made Johann a target for many beautiful and accomplished young women. Yet despite how many gorgeous and talented women approached him, he remained unmoved. It wasn't until Regina appeared that everything changed. Johann was smitten with Regina from the moment he saw her. He wasn't just attracted to her external beauty, he was completely captivated when he had the chance to learn more about her. The more they talked and interacted, the more he realized Regina seemed to perfectly meet every criterion he had for an ideal partner. She was beautiful, educated, and had ambition and depth. He no longer had any doubts. He was 100% certain this was the other half he had been waiting for all these years. With iron determination, Johann told himself he would marry Regina at any cost. He immediately launched a pursuit that was both passionate and sweet. Like most wealthy men, to show his sincerity and intense feelings, he employed the simplest and most direct method everyone knows: money, expensive gifts, luxurious dates, extravagant trips. He spared nothing to please her. And Regina didn't refuse any of it, happily accepting everything he offered. In November 2015, after less than 6 months of dating, Johann decided to propose, and she accepted without hesitation. And so the two officially walked down the aisle. On November 27, 2015, Johann spent a staggering $2.5 million on an elaborate wedding. The guests in attendance were all prominent figures in society, and everyone expressed admiration for this perfect couple. After the wedding, Johann immediately whisked his bride away on their honeymoon. They traveled to Greece, France, Spain, and several other countries. Everywhere they went, the couple took photos and shared their happy moments on social media. Their pictures looked incredibly sweet and romantic, radiating the kind of blissful happiness that made everyone envious. This was high-class couple goals, not flashy or tacky, but enough to make others sigh with admiration. After their extended honeymoon, Johann decided to buy a mansion as their love nest. It was a home worth $6.5 million, located in Manhattan's Upper East Side. This is one of New York's most prestigious neighborhoods for the wealthy, home to society's upper class. Living there, whether shopping, enjoying art and culture, or simply strolling the streets, everything exuded first-class luxury and prestige. Regina was also someone who loved to travel. After marriage, she continued going all over the world, sometimes for vacation, sometimes attending fashion shows or art exhibitions abroad. Each trip lasted 10 days or more. Johann was busy with work. His surgery and research schedule was packed, so he couldn't always arrange to accompany his wife. Worried that she might be uncomfortable traveling alone because he was too busy, this doting husband decided to buy an additional beachfront villa on Long Island for $2.5 million, so his wife would have a place to relax and enjoy the ocean air without traveling far. Perhaps thanks to his fulfilling family life with a beautiful wife by his side, Johann always felt energized and in high spirits. He threw himself into work with more enthusiasm than ever, and his career flourished as a result. Besides her travels, Regina also frequently flew to China, claiming it was for business related to the fashion app she had mentioned before marriage. Each trip lasted several weeks. Johann was actually somewhat puzzled by this project. They had been married for 5 years, yet his wife's app was still perpetually in development, with no launch or concrete results in sight. Occasionally, he would probe about the project's progress or the investor behind it, but each time Regina gave vague responses without any clear or specific answers. In fact, even before they got married, Johann had wondered and directly asked Regina about her finances. He found it strange that the fashion app was stuck in development with no revenue, and she didn't have any other job or steady income. So how had she been supporting herself all this time? Regina explained that she had inherited $500,000 from her grandmother, which she used for daily living expenses. It sounded reasonable enough, so Johann didn't press further. To be fair, aside from her love of fun and frequent absences due to endless trips, Regina didn't seem to have any other faults. After marriage, she appeared to have changed for the better. In front of her husband, she was always gentle, sweet, and affectionate. She knew how to make Johann feel loved and cared for. After a stressful day of complex surgeries, just thinking about coming home to his beautiful wife waiting for him seemed to make all his fatigue and pressure melt away. But life isn't always as rosy as it appears on social media. The dark secret hidden beneath this seemingly perfect marriage was finally exposed after 5 years together. It all started on that fateful day in late 2020 when Johann accidentally read messages from a strange man to his wife. His first reaction was that Regina was having an affair. Hurt, angry, and in disbelief, he tried to stay calm to investigate further. He wanted to know the full truth before drawing any conclusions, but the deeper he dug, the more shocking his discoveries became. What was happening with his wife turned out to be far more complex and terrible than a simple affair. For the past 5 years, Regina had been secretly working a special job behind his back without his knowledge. All those times she said she was traveling, attending fashion shows, or on business trips for her app. They were actually trips to meet clients. She was a high-end escort, and those endless trips were for this secret work. Furthermore, Johann discovered that the impressive credentials Regina had boasted about, her college education, startup project, and dream of becoming a dentist to help the poor, were almost entirely fabricated. And what shocked him most was that she hadn't started this profession after marriage. In reality, Regina had entered this line of work long before. Regina had attended Portland High School, but she had absolutely no interest in studying. She didn't focus on her schoolwork, performed poorly academically, and ultimately didn't even graduate from high school. Instead of attending school, she frequently hung out at nightclubs and bars. At first, she worked as a hostess, the type who sits and drinks with customers for company. But gradually, she slid further down that slope until she became a full-fledged prostitute. Ironically, around that same time, somewhere else Johann was still buried in his books, working hard to earn his medical doctorate. And Regina was nothing like the deep, sophisticated person she had portrayed herself to be. At 19, she had been arrested for reckless driving and fined $150. That was just one blemish on her record. Even more telling, just 4 days before her lavish wedding to Johann, she had been sued for owing $13,845 in unpaid rent. This meant that while Johann was spending millions of dollars preparing an extravagant wedding for her, she was carrying unpaid debt. After Regina was crowned Miss Connecticut, her reputation grew considerably, and the caliber of her clients rose accordingly. She no longer served ordinary people, but had moved up to the upper class, those willing to pay big money. When she first met Johann at that party, she actually just saw him as another big fish to add to her pond, a wealthy potential client. But unexpectedly, this doctor developed real feelings. He didn't just want to casually date, he wholeheartedly wanted to marry her. Seeing this, Regina decided to go with the flow, accepting his proposal and turning poor Dr. Kim into the man left holding the bag, marrying a wife he thought was pure, but who actually had a deeply checkered past. If Regina had stopped there after marriage and settled down to be a wealthy housewife living in luxury, her dark past might have remained buried forever. She had a rich husband, beautiful homes, and a comfortable life that many could only dream of. If she had just been content, everything would have been fine. But inexplicably, after marriage, she returned to her old profession. She continued secretly meeting clients behind her husband's back as if nothing had changed. And when you're doing something shady like that, getting caught is inevitable. As Johann continued to dig deeper, he became increasingly distressed. The more he investigated, the more shocked he became. His wife's client list was no simple matter. It included virtually every important sector of society: real estate moguls worth billions, famous fashion designers, powerful business titans, and even political figures. In other words, his wife had been involved with men from America's most elite circles. In his fury and utter disappointment, Johann decided he would no longer suffer in silence. He prepared a 264-page divorce filing and submitted it to the Manhattan Supreme Court, requesting complete annulment of the marriage. This wasn't an ordinary divorce petition. It was a thick dossier meticulously documenting every detail of the betrayal he had endured throughout more than 5 years of marriage. He presented all the evidence he had found, along with the pain, trauma, and confusion he had experienced since discovering the truth about the wife he had loved so dearly. In the report, he also revealed detailed information about the frequency and sources of his wife's income from her secret profession. Looking at the numbers, one could sarcastically call Regina a model worker. She clearly had a wealthy husband, lived in multi-million-dollar mansions, and could have anything she wanted, yet she still wouldn't sit back and enjoy it. She kept working hard for money as if she were in need. According to the documents from 2015 to 2021, a total of $675,030 had been deposited into her personal account. Most of this money came from checks sent by 2 men. One was an executive in the real estate industry in New Jersey, and the other was a fairly well-known lighting designer who had won multiple awards in his field. The real estate executive alone had transferred $185,500 to Regina over several years. At approximately $2,000 per meeting, that meant they had met no fewer than 90 times. That number is truly staggering. The lighting designer wasn't far behind either. Over several years, he had transferred over $116,000 to Regina. By that calculation, he and Regina had met more than 50 times. And those were just the 2 biggest clients. There were also numerous smaller amounts transferred from various other personal accounts. All totaled, it was clear Regina had been working very diligently and regularly throughout her marriage. Johann wrote in his divorce filing that he simply couldn't fathom why his wife had done this. He was a top spinal surgeon earning millions annually, and he had never been stingy with his wife. He bought her multi-million-dollar mansions, indulged her every whim, let her go wherever she wanted, and buy whatever she desired. So why did she continue secretly doing that special work throughout their marriage? He couldn't understand it at all. Regina had deceived him about so many things: her education, her past, her business trips. If not for all those lies and elaborate cover-ups, he never would have married someone like her. He asserted that Regina's behavior constituted serious marital fraud, and that their marriage had been built entirely on a foundation of lies. While Dr. Kim was absolutely furious, on the other side, the divorce case quickly became a hot topic across America. The media reported extensively, and internet users eagerly poured fuel on the fire. They discussed, commented, and dug up information about the case mercilessly. Some online comments probably dealt Johan an additional 10,000 points of critical damage to his already shattered heart. Internet users didn't just discuss casually. They went to the trouble of digging up old interview videos of Regina from her beauty pageant days. In one interview clip, when asked if she had ever used online dating apps, she innocently replied that she never had. Internet users read this and laughed mockingly. Of course not, because she only did in-person dating. Who needs an app? In another question about her thoughts on high-end nude art photography, she replied that she would never participate in such shoots because it would make her uncomfortable. Looking back at these answers now, people could only shake their heads at her hypocrisy. Completely unlike Dr. Kim's painful, angry reaction, Regina remained remarkably calm after the scandal broke, as if she had anticipated this day would eventually come. She didn't cry or make a scene, didn't beg for forgiveness, and showed no remorse whatsoever for what she had done. But honestly, if she had just been content, everything would have been different. She could have quietly enjoyed her wealthy life, but instead, she destroyed everything with her own hands, letting the scandal explode everywhere. However, just as everyone was eagerly following and hotly discussing the case, waiting to see what other secrets the public trial might reveal, an unexpected development occurred. On July 26, 2021, Johan and Regina suddenly announced they had reached an out-of-court settlement. The case would not go to public trial. Issues regarding asset division, damages, and other terms were quickly and quietly resolved between the two parties, with no details disclosed to the public. Notably, the very next day, July 27th, a rather suggestive news report appeared in the media. The reporter noted that Regina's social media account had only 586 followers, a fairly modest number. However, upon digging into this follower list, they discovered it contained quite a few members of society's elite. Many people were puzzled by the sudden settlement. This was the humiliation of being betrayed and deceived for 5 years. Could Johan really forgive and let go so easily? But if we think about it carefully, what he held in his hands wasn't just evidence of his wife's infidelity and prostitution. He also had her client list, and those clients were all elite figures from New York's upper class. If the case had gone to public trial, these names could very well have been exposed. At that point, this would no longer have been a simple divorce between husband and wife. It would inevitably have caused massive shockwaves throughout both American political and business circles. Perhaps it was for such sensitive reasons that the case was arranged to end quietly. Of course, this is all just outside speculation. What the real reason behind the sudden settlement was, perhaps only those directly involved know. In any case, this drama-filled saga finally came to a close. After completing the divorce proceedings, Johan had clearly been deeply wounded by this bitter marriage. He quietly deleted all the romantic photos they had posted on social media, moments he once thought were genuine happiness, but now served only as reminders of deception. He also refused all interview requests from the press, unwilling to answer any questions related to the matter. He wouldn't even mention Regina's name. It seemed he had resolved to completely set aside this painful chapter of memories, cutting all ties with the past to start a new life. In January 2023, at a charity cycling event organized by the hospital, people spotted Kim Jo-han once again. He still looked fit and energetic. Currently, he remains active in the field of spinal surgery, continuing to dedicate himself to his medical career. As for his ex-wife Regina, after the scandal died down, She virtually disappeared from public view. No one knows where she is or what she's doing. Perhaps Regina wanted to live a free life, unbound by anyone or anything. But if she wanted freedom that badly, she shouldn't have entered into marriage in the first place. She shouldn't have deceived a sincere man for money and status while still wanting to keep her carefree lifestyle. In the end, you can't have it both ways in this world. Wanting this and that, being too greedy. Ultimately, the only result you'll face is ending up with nothing at all. And that's it for today's case. What do you think about this case? Please share in the comments below. Thanks for watching and see you in the next videos.